Peace and welcome to Black Fertility. This video is not going to have any visual right now. I hope you don't mind. I hope you can all bear with me. The information is still valid. I'm going to come correct with the information. So definitely make sure that you are listening and make sure that you are tuning in and able to really take in this information, because I really want to reach out to somebody and help somebody on their fertility journey, on your experience with conceiving a beautiful, healthy Black baby, right? And helping to grow and support that and to ensure that we have the best outcomes, for the future children that we bring into this world. So with that said, hold on for 1 second. Let me make sure everything's all right. All right, so the topic tonight is Western lifestyle, your Western lifestyle. So how is your Western lifestyle affecting your fertility? Because a lot of times we are so caught up into our beingness, or we can be so caught up into our life and who we think we are, that we don't really realize the different layers that have been placed upon who we truly are, right? So depending on where you are born in the world, you are going to some degree be given an identity. You're going to be given certain expectations. You're going to be given certain goals, certain aspirations, certain things to look forward to, certain norms, paradigms, dynamics, and things to live up to, right? And here in the West, we have a lot of those. And actually, on the flip side, we have a lot of things that we are not expected to do, that we are not called upon, and responsibilities that are overlooked, responsibilities that are, neglected. A lot of things that we are expected to neglect, and that we are even condemned for taking consideration, for things such as our health and our well-beingness, and caring and loving each other, right? So here in the West, we have different things that can affect us and can affect your fertility. And one of them results in poor health, right? And so when we talk about poor health, what does that mean? Okay, a lot of people think that, if your doctor says that you are infertile, or if somebody tells you that you're infertile, that somehow that is a disease, right? But infertility is really not a disease. It is a symptom of other diseases, but it is not the disease itself, right? The disease are your hormones being imbalanced. The disease is the mental health that caused you to behave in a certain way that led to the physical manifestation of infertility, right? And the disease is your addiction to this lifestyle, to this Western lifestyle, that led to the physical manifestation called infertility, right? And the real disease is the chronic illness that we have, that we have claimed, basically, and that we wear with pride, just to say that, we live in the West and we have all this money, and, we can drive nicest cars and fancy houses and go to certain places and, travel the world and basically feel like the shit, per se, right? Meanwhile, you might be the last of the Mohicans. And how proud can you really be about that? How much of a legacy can you really leave behind if you cannot even, to some degree, say that your lifestyle did not affect your ability to reproduce? Because if your lifestyle affects your ability to reproduce, your lifestyle does not exist. All the glory and all the glam of your lifestyle is, it's very short-lived. So the Western lifestyle really affects us in that way, right? And another way outside of having poor health, that the Western lifestyle affects you and affects your fertility, is poor habits. So there are a lot of poor habits that are adapted and adopted in the West, right? That lead to infertility. Again, mental health, poor mental health. A lot of people are not expected to, have good character. We say you are expected to have good character, but that's usually just as far as teachers and authority are concerned. But your neighbor, you don't have to treat them with any type of respect. The next black person, the black brother you see, or black sister you see, we're not expected to treat them with any type of respect or dignity, right? In fact, we are trained on a subconscious level that our black brothers and sisters are our enemy, and that outside of white Western imperial authority, in the face of a teacher, police, clerk behind a counter at a store, manager, boss, outside of these entities, that nobody else deserves respect. And we're taught this, and this leads to mental health, because the energy that you give off to somebody else, it comes back to you. So if you're not treating your fellow brother or sister with respect because maybe they're not giving you a paycheck, or, they cannot give you a job or something, or, your life is not in their hands as far as your education, whether you can get a degree from them or not, is concerned. If you cannot respect somebody simply because they cannot do anything for you, then that really has a karmatic effect on your body that you're not going to see right now, because that may become contagious. Now that person feels like, well, I don't have to respect the other person because they can't do anything for me, and they can't do anything for me. And this just passes on. And then we wonder why people can sit back and just watch people being hurt, being murdered, being killed, being abused. And people just sit back and watch. And it's because of the subtle negative energies, negative thoughts, mental behaviors that we have had, that we have given out and pushed out, right? So again, poor habits such as your mental behavior, such as your behavior itself, just how you express yourself on a day-to-day basis. And look, this video is definitely not to attack anybody who may be suffering from infertility or anything like that, or so-called infertility, but it is to help you to see where your issues may lie, where you can make changes, right? Because once you can't change something if you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know that you have certain mental patterns and certain behavioral patterns, then you're not going to be able to change them. So this video basically is to help you to see that, you may have a behavioral pattern. You may have, a certain attitude, a certain outlook on life that is just not very fruitful. It's not very fertility orientated, right? It goes against fertility. It could be self-righteousness. A lot of people nowadays are very self-righteous, think that the world owes them something, feels entitled to whatever it is that they desire. And it's very sad that this, is predominantly a Western European thing, a westernized mindset, Western lifestyle orientated mindset. But that's the reality for many of us today, right? Is, the behavior is almost expected. You are expected to look down upon your brother and sister. You are expected to treat people with disdain and disgust if, again, they don't look like you, they don't talk like you, they're not part of your clique, your crew, you don't know them, they don't seem to come from the same financial bracket as you, they don't live in your neighborhood, their shoes is just not shiny that day. Just things like that. Their children's hair may not be done in the way that you like it, and we experience a lot of this, the worst, from our own people. But a lot of times, the people who are on the receiving end of these negative behaviors are often very aware, that the people who are behaving this way to them are obviously going through some things. They're going through some issues. So that's why sometimes you don't get the backlash in return, because these people can be so used to it. They can almost become immune to the hate that they experience from their own, that they don't even react or respond no more. And so, unfortunately, people like that, people who are, dishing this energy out, can go on just, move from one person to the next with this type of negative behavior. And it's not until they really take the time out to deal with themselves when they realize, you know what, I've been treating people very cruel. I've been mean, and it's not because of anything they have done to me. It's really because of my own issues. And I don't want to make this a personal video. It's definitely, I don't know anybody who could be going through this. I'm hypothesizing largely here, but I know that I'm not too far off. Somebody is feeling this way, and somebody's going to be affected by this video, and somebody's going to wake up and say, yo, oh my gosh, that's me. And I didn't even realize it because I had been so programmed to think that it was okay. And like I've mentioned in my other video, once you start to wake up and realize your actions and behavior, and you start to try to walk away from it, you then realize that the people closest to you, and even the people not so close to you, have been keeping you in this box of poor health, poor habits. So when you start to treat people with better respect, and you say, you know what, I want to claim my fertility. I am a fertile, abundant being. I am ovulating, I am attracting my future baby to me now. I am living my best life. I am flowing in cervical fluid, in abundant, fertile cervical fluid. You get me? And you start to attract fertility and abundance to you. And you start to change your behaviors, your mindset, and so forth. And you start to, treat people with love and respect, because that's the energy that you want to call onto yourself. That's the energy that you realize that you need to have to de-stress, so that way you can get your hormones in balance, so that way you can balance yourself, so that way a baby can grow and thrive in your womb. When you start to change, you start to realize that the people closest and maybe not so close around you have been keeping you in the box. Oh, she not making fun of such and such today, or what's wrong with her? Don't she get the joke? Or, I told her to snitch on such and such. Why didn't she do it? Or why didn't he do it? You all know the code. We don't accept them type of black people around here. You get me? And so once they see that you're not going along with the program, you're not going along with the code, you start to become the target. And I think this is what a lot of people fear a lot of times when it comes to growth and, changing and challenging their own behaviors, is that they know in many cases not, but they know that they are going to be next. They are the next victim. But I'm saying, if you want that baby, if you want this fertility to happen for you, if you want to increase your fertility is not just you physically having a baby. Fertility does not start with the conception of a baby. It does not start when sperm meets egg. Fertility starts in your mind, and it starts way before you are actively engaged in trying to conceive your baby. And in many cases, before you even are ovulating, and before you ovulate, before the first or second or third ovulation. Fertility, right, is a lifestyle in and of itself, and a mindset in and of itself. So people are going to see that change in you. They're going to see that glow, right? And you got to be able to own that and claim that. So I'm giving you just a little advice, heads up, and something to prepare yourself for, because, we all seen the movie, the music video, This Is America, right? And we seen with the passing of Tentacion just how real that is. And even with the killing of Junior Guardsman Feliz, I think his name is, stabbed in the store while the clerks witnessed it, pushed him away, and when he came back for help, turned him out. So we see how this mindset, this lack of life, this lack of reverence for life, this infertile mindset, this Western mindset, we see how it's playing out. And if this is the world that you want your child to come into, if you are contributing to this type of behavior, then that is not something that is really going to be a fruitful, it'll be short-lived fertility, because we can't go on having an entire world that glorifies and glamorizes death and destruction for whatever cause, whether it's under the guise of hip hop, whether it's under the guise of fashion, whether it's under the guise of, this is my neighborhood, or this is my educational, my fraternity, or any of that. If it amounts to infertility and an infertile mindset, a Western mindset, it amounts to death and destruction. So, you got to change your mindset and start attracting that love and that life to you, right? Because it goes even beyond just trying to have a baby, so it's bigger than that, right? But your Western lifestyle affects your mental habits, or affects your behavior habits, and it also affects your spiritual habits. Because if you lack a certain level of spirituality, you're not going to be able to revere that human entity that has manifested itself here in human form, in the flesh. And if that human being does not live up to who you aspire for it to be, or desire whatever for it to be, then you could want to toss that person out. So after all that hard work of trying to conceive and trying to have this baby, there's still life after that. Many things can happen. And if you are not spiritually inclined, you will not be prepared for all the challenges thereafter, right? So we're talking about an infertile lifestyle here, and what that looks like. That looks like a lack of spiritual fortitude, right? And it could also manifest itself as emotional imbalances. One minute you're happy, the next minute you're completely upset, another minute you're nonchalant, and a couple seconds later we don't know what to expect. Going through the motions, right? But if you are struggling with fertility, you've got to get these emotions in check. You've got to not let these emotions control you. These are your emotions. Your emotions are not you. You are not your happiness. You are not your anger. You are not your sadness. You are not your frustration. These are energies. These are emotions. These are frequencies that we are meant to experience, that are meant to exist within us and amongst us, that are messages for us, that have meaning. It does not mean that we are supposed to necessarily stay in any one of these emotions. And I know that may be hard for some people, because you say, okay, well, what about happiness? If I'm happy all the time, won't that help me to become fertile? Well, there are some times where you cannot be happy. You should not be happy in every situation. Some situations call for your indignant anger, right? And here in the West, we are expected to be smiling and clapping and snapping and tap dancing all the goddamn time. And I'm saying there's sometimes when there's no need for that. That is uncalled for. And in the case, the context that I just mentioned, it's never called for. That's when you should be the angriest. But to stay on topic, these emotions are meant for us to awaken to ourselves and to receive the messages to help us move through life, right? Wisely, and to make conscious decisions, and to even go into our subconscious. If you find that you are just completely irate and angry, body shaking, trembling almost, you need to ask yourself, man, why am I so mad? Do I really want to be this angry? Was what I am angry about really worth it? Should I really feel this frustrated? Is there a better way to handle my emotion? Another thing that we are not really taught how to do, growing up in the education system. Why is it only when, a child, exhibits maybe dangerous type of behaviors that somehow that child or so forth is placed in behavioral classes or receive some type of anger management course, when in reality you're in school for how many years of your life? Everybody should have at least received the behavior or anger management course or something like that at some point in time. But that's not what the education system was designed to do. Just like it was not designed to educate you on fertility, but you definitely learned about how to prevent fertility. You definitely learned how to kill sperm. You learned how to mimic ovulation with the egg, so you didn't have to have a real menstrual period, right? You learned that it was okay to abort a baby, you know. We learned a lot of things that didn't necessarily contribute to fertility, but they contributed to poor habits. And these poor habits came from somewhere. So I want you all to meditate on some of the habits that you have. Go think about everything if you can, you know, get a pen and a piece of paper and write down your mental state right now. What are the thoughts that are going through your mind? You know, just hashtag, come off of Instagram for a second and go on the Instagram in your mind. What are the hashtags that you would write down in your mind right now? The things you're thinking, hashtag that. And then hashtag the behaviors that you've been exhibiting for the past week, up to a month, up to 3 to 9 months, if you may. Because those 3 to 9 months thoughts and behaviors could tell you a lot about your fertility status now. I'm preaching. I'm teaching here. I'm preaching and I'm teaching, man. But I'm telling you, write down your thoughts. Hashtag your thoughts for the last 3 to 6 months. Okay? And meditate on that for real. Hashtag your behaviors and your thoughts for the last 3 to 6 months. Hashtag your spiritual relationship for the last 3 to 6 months. Whether that's metaphysical or relationship that you have, one with the ancestors, one with yourself, one with, you know, whoever that you are, whatever, or, you know, it could be nature, whatever your spiritual relationship is. Hashtag that for the last 3 to 6 months. And then probably even more revealing, maybe your emotions. Track your emotions. See if you can track your emotions for the next 3 to 6 months, or 3 to 9 months. Sorry. I really mean to say 30 to 90 days. So that's really 3 months altogether for each of these. But hey, if you can go beyond that, then, you know, you are really in the driver's seat. Because this is one thing we don't do. We're not taught to track our emotions. You know, we go to school and we learn how to track how much money Joe spent on equipment for his manufacturer. You know, we're taught to track stuff like that. We got a scientific calculator for that. But the fertility calculator that we need for ourselves, and the balance calculator, the spiritual calculator, the mental calculator, the behavioral calculator, and emotional calculator that we need, we were never given those tools. So I'm giving you those tools today. I'm telling you, it's simple. Get a pen and a paper, track how you have been feeling, thinking, behaving, and even revering life for the last 0 to 3 months. And for the next 3 months. And if any of you need any apps, there are apps that can help you with this, that can, you know, track your emotions. Are you know, put a little smiley face here at this time, you know, pop up and be like, okay, how do you feel right now? What are your thoughts right now? You know, if you need apps to do that, comment and let me know. I've seen a few of them. I like to stick to pen and paper, but I know that, you know, these apps can really help people who just need somewhere to start. And the pen and paper thing might not be too, what can I say? It might not be too gratifying as far as progress is relates. But these apps, sometimes they can really track your progress for you, and, you know, show you in a compiled in a compiled way, you know, by dates and so forth. Yeah, you've been happy a lot. You've been angry a lot. You've been sad a lot. You've been all over the place, or, you know, you've been predominantly mellow. You've been chill. You know, they can really help you. Or, you know, you can go back and just see your thoughts and maybe like a color pattern. Like, there's a lot of dynamic ways and a lot of these things that we need to take advantage of that can really help us particularly. So before I get too carried away, I want to move on to the third way that our Western lifestyle is affecting us, and that is through poor diet, or a Western diet. So your diet, believe it or not, really affects your fertility, really affects Black fertility. And I'm saying this because there are a lot of Black people who suffer from food related fertility issues, overweight, underweight, thyroid issues, hormonal imbalances caused by food, too much estrogen, feeding certain things such as fibroids via the food that you're eating, clogged arteries, hypertension, blood pressure, a lot of these things that can affect your fertility, right? And a lot of this is caused by the processed foods that we're eating, right? Whereas in other countries, they are eating fertility foods to the point they're not even calling them fertility foods. Over here in the West, you eat a fertility food, hashtag fertility food. It's all over the place. You want to be noticed for it. There's special attention given to it. And it is a thing. Whereas, say in the Himalayas or something, if they're eating that maca root for dinner that they do every year, that they've been doing for hundreds of years, they're in their culture, ain't nobody hashtagging that. The Peruvian is not like, well, you know what, today we're eating maca, you know what I mean? That's just what they eat. But let somebody over here eat a stick of kale, and everybody needs to know kale for fertility. And there's nothing wrong with that. We definitely need to appreciate nature and life and the things that we have been we have been blocked from or prevented from, right? Because again, as Black people here, we have been prevented from developing our own cultures. And I challenge you, if you want to say that, it's a free country and blah, blah, you can do whatever you, well, go ahead and just declare, whatever culture you want, and you're right where you stand. And, do exactly what it is that you say you want to erect, and tell me that you're not going to have extreme challenges. Many of them from your own people. But, I'm saying this to say that in the West, again, we are eating processed foods that are not really fertility foods, not really for life-giving foods. And it's no wonder that people struggle with infertility, right? Then you also have fatty foods. You need a certain amount of fat in order to conceive and have a healthy baby, right? Not only do you need to eat that fat, but that fat needs to also be stored in your body, right? But if you store in too much of this fat, that can work against you, right? And then again, we have the whole publicity thing where now people are encouraged to not eat fat, or we went through that where people were encouraged to not eat fat, avoid fat, but then not really appreciating the benefits that fat has in the body, how it helps the bones to grow, how it helps to provide and supply the body with certain vitamins and minerals on a slow release. Metabolism type of cycle or action. So that way it is not all just excreted out with the waste and so forth. It provides you with energy over time, maintains your blood glucose and so forth, maintains your energy to the point where this propaganda has hit us that, fat is bad for you, that to the point that some women are, underweight as far as fat goes, or don't have enough fat on their body, damn near anorexic, right? So this Western diet is not even a diet. It is just a death wheel. It is just a roller coaster because people don't know where to be on this diet. Okay, this Western diet is not it is a diet. They got that right. They got the diet part right. To the point people don't know what to eat. And, how old is the Western diet that we are eating? How old is that bag of chips on the shelf? And I don't mean when was it made and packaged. I mean, what are the preservatives in that thing that's been keeping that thing on the shelf? On a metaphysical type of way, because a lot of these foods are some of them less than 10 years old. We don't know the effects of some of these foods that we're eating. Some of these animals, genetically modified animals and so forth that are being consumed. And maintained on the shelf with glue and all sorts of things, right? We don't know how old or what the effects of that's going to be, but we know we're starting to see, obviously, that infertility is one of them. And do we really need to see any more health effects? If we know that infertility is one of them, we know that death is another. Population control is another, right? So it's no wonder the population rate is decreased mainly for people living in big cities, urban areas, while people living in the suburbs and so forth, even teenagers, their population rate is a little higher. Why is that? Could it be the fresher fruits and vegetables and so forth that they're eating, the non-processed, genetically modified foods, sold in the stores and so forth, right? And then again, another poor Western diet or thing that results from a poor Western diet is the nutrient deficient foods. So foods that look shiny and red and colorful but have no nutritional value to them, right? And this could be whatever, you could be saying that you're a vegan and a vegetarian, but your apple is saying it's a nothingtarian. You a nothingtarian. You're not eating nothing right now. Right? It's okay, I got him. Yeah. So, and then you also have, again, your disease-ridden foods. We don't know what we're eating a lot of times. Uh-oh. Can you pick that up? We don't know what we're eating sometimes. Some of this food is old and just being, sprayed or sprinkled with something. And okay. Sprayed or sprinkled with something or injected with something to keep it looking plump, fresh, green, bright, orange, whatever the color is, right? We don't know what it is we're getting off the shelf. And then you also have acidic foods. A lot of the foods that we are encouraged to eat produce a lot of acid in the body, right? Meanwhile, the vegetation and so forth that is abundant and all around us is discouraged. A lot of times you're discouraged from eating it, and to the point where, is a lot of jokes being made about people that eat vegetables and fruits and vegetables and so forth, or even try to eat certain foods that are such as sea vegetables or micronutrients. When you start talking about stuff like that, man, you really going over people's heads. But in some cases, that's when they stop messing with you, because now they don't even know how to make fun of you no more. But a lot of us are not eating those foods. We're not eating those very healthy, life-giving foods, right? And those are the things that we need to move. That's the direction that you need to move into if you really want to increase your fertility, is to move into the foods that are so super healthy for you, that not only were your ancestors eating them and so forth, but those are the foods that you're discouraged to eat. Those are the fertility foods, the foods that, increase your fertility, that have been doing so naturally. Because I'm telling you, there's a concerted effort. All these foods and these GMO and these processed foods on the shelf and stuff is designed to be there. It is meant to keep there, to keep that population in check. It's not called, I don't want to really name any brands, but they might as well wipe the labels off of these foods and tell you what they really are. Infertility, you get me? Not just tea, infertility, or sterilization soda, drop that sperm count pop. Why didn't they come up with these names, like that? Because they like to be in your face with it a lot of time. They like to tell you what they're doing. But it seems like when it came to the food, they kind of kept that on the low. But if you watch their shows and so forth, they let you know. They laugh, they push it in your face. They rub it in your face exactly what's going on. But when it comes to the labeling of the food, they're discreet about that.
Down.
High fructose corn syrup should really be called low sperm count corn syrup, or fallopian tube blocking serum, Because in a lot of cases, that's what these foods are, right? They are anti-fertility foods when our ancestors and, you know, before we were brought over here and before we were introduced or embraced by these people, we were healthy, fertile, friendly, and free, right? So now we know better, and now is the time to get back to your fertility mindset, to get back to your fertility ways, to embrace fertility again, to embrace loving your brother and your sister, exuding that love and that fertility and that fertile mindset onto your people, right? So that way you can receive that energy in return. And so I hope this video helps you. And again, the 3 points that I wanted to talk about here again for Western lifestyle was poor health, poor habits, and a poor Western diet. So if you feel as though there are anything in those 3 areas that you need to address, definitely take the time out to do that now. I am having a workshop on July 15th. I hope that you attend that workshop. Definitely go to my bio on my Instagram page and click the link. And there is a link there for you to go to my Eventbrite and reserve your ticket for my workshop. So definitely make sure that you do that. Please also subscribe to my YouTube page at Black Fertility on TV on YouTube, and like me here on Instagram. Follow my page here on Instagram. Turn on your notifications. And again, if you are not part of my newsletter, make sure that you subscribe to my newsletter so that you can get notifications for videos like this and also some other information. And thank you for watching, and peace.